Hi. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for the first in our new series, Historic Neighborhoods of Indianapolis. I'm the executive director. I'm Liz Ellis, executive director here at the Propylaeum. Our program tonight will feature Historic Meridian Park and Historic Neighborhoods of Indianapolis. And our speaker this evening is Lorraine Vavul. And Lorraine is a member of the Propylaeum, and she's going to go ahead and introduce herself and introduce the program. Lorraine?
Well, it's wonderful to be with you tonight. I tell you, truly, I am honored to be the kickoff speaker for the Historic Neighborhoods of Indy series at the Propylaeum. We have a lot to get to tonight. As many of you will know that are prop members, Marjorie Keenly has served in great leadership and her organizational skills, and they've been instrumental in the success of HUNI. You're going to get to hear from Marjorie come February on a tour of Lockerbie, so that will be soon to come. Okay, next up. Why me? And I think it all starts around my house. In 1993, I bought this home as a single woman, and some people thought I was absolutely crazy. It was 3 years into the neighborhood being on the National Register, but honestly, it was the only house I could afford. And I also found over the years that I was single, that it was a great way to weed out boyfriends. If they weren't willing to take on me with my 83-year-old house, it probably wasn't a very good match for us. So that was something that unexpected benefit of getting this home. People ask me often what the most valuable lesson is that I've learned, and that would be that some projects need skills. And I would say painting, yeah, you don't have to be all that skilled, but if you're cutting trim, you absolutely need some skill to be able to do that. Okay, so in 2004 through 2008, so that 5-year period, I served on the president on the Historic Meridian Park Neighborhood Association board. 2 of the years served as president. As I was vice president, I kind of surveyed what was going on with the National Register application and decided, you know what, I think it's time for a centennial. And I don't have enough time to plan a centennial this year in 2005. So I think our centennial is going to be 2006 because the neighborhood was founded right around that time frame. So we set about as a neighborhood and the board, we put on a charrette for beautification at the beginning of the year. And you guys will know, the smart women and men will know, if you don't have a plan, you're probably not going to get funded. So that beautification plan really helped to bring things along. Also, during the summer, we had a Centennial home tour that also featured a homecoming picnic for those who have left the neighborhood and came back. We had a Sunday concert with Stephen Stolen, who is a neighbor, and that was very fun. In the early spring, we ended up doing an event with Christopher Freeze. So those who are members of the Christ Church Cathedral on the Circle might recognize Chris as one of the singers there. And Charles Webb, the IU Dean of the School of Music in IU Bloomington, actually played the piano for that. So that was it was awfully fun. Fast forward, end of 2000 or beginning of 2008, I became president of HUNI and served in that role until 2012. During that time, I had the great fortune to have a little bit of marketing background. So I was able to work and with the board to establish the website and also a social media presence. We didn't know quite the amazing impact that would have, but I'll talk a little bit more of that in a minute. And I have to say, hats off to my partner in crime, Jay Van Santen, who helped with being the webmaster and has donated really hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of time to make the HUNI website really cool. Last on the list is digital project coordinator for these historic neighborhood walking tours, the digitization initiative. And I'm going to show you a little bit that. And I have a first, you guys are going to be the first in the world to see something. I want to give you a better understanding of HUNI. I want you to see where and how you can access additional historic neighborhood tours, either in person that you can walk, or you can do it on your computer from the comfort of your home, or anybody can across America. You'll get a glimpse into the architecture of a National Register neighborhood and see where many of the early movers and shakers in the city lived as Indianapolis's growth moved north. You'll also see some homes designed by prominent early architects of the city. And then I'll also, I want you to, at the very end of the session, I want you to listen during the session and share who your favorite resident was, because I'm going to go through a large span of people, and they're really interesting people. So we will have a combination of a little bit of commentary as well as some narration, as you might hear on a true walking tour of the neighborhood. I also have a disclaimer. I don't know if he's on the call tonight, but I am no Jim Glass. I appreciate architecture, but I'm not an architect. So I will do my best. I'll do my best with that. I also, again, want to tout the public unveiling of a new website for HUNI. And so we're going to get to that here in just a moment. Okay, moving right along. So who is HUNI? In important how you pronounce the name, it's not HUNI and it's not honey, but hue like the color and ni like the body part, HUNI. In 1980, Indiana Landmarks established HUNI to help with the preservation of the architectural fabric of neighborhoods. And our mission is threefold: the revitalization of Indy's urban neighborhoods, the ones that still have the historic fabric left, education for people who live inside those neighborhoods, as well as for people who are interested in historic neighborhoods. And the third part of our mission is advocacy and advocating for historic neighborhoods. And we have found that we found certainly our voice, and that there are strength in numbers. And we have certainly grown in prominence, I think partially due to social media, and due to the website. We were able to amplify our voices. But something that Marjorie and I, and Gary Tulifo as well, worked on early on was a mayoral forum for neighborhoods. And what that did is really put front and center with any person who is the mayor or wants to be the mayor, established a presence for HUNI, and that our issues were important, and that there are a lot of people who live in historic neighborhoods, particularly within the urban core. So that, I think, really helped to grow the prominence of the organization. We are all volunteer. We have a leadership team of 7 that includes the past 2 presidents of HUNI, as well as the current leadership team and the head of the editorial board, which is a second committee of HUNI. The editorial board is 10 members, and we have we work on what the content is going to be on the website and for the social media, and trying to figure out things that you might be interested in. Right here, you see a beautiful picture of the Lockerbie neighborhood. Again, Marjorie doing a quick plug for you in February. There are 33 neighborhoods that are a member of HUNI. 17 of these enjoy protection through the Indianapolis Historic Preservation Commission. We also have more than 40 areas that are on the National Register. I want to make sure that you don't get out of here without, on your list, writing down our handles at HUNI Indy for Facebook and for Twitter, and our HUNI website. We're going to go to the website here in a second, so you'll be able to write down that name. I think Lorraine is also going to provide it. And then this is the big unveiling. We're unveiling the tours.huniindy.org website tonight. So I can't wait to show you that. So let me jump into HUNI right now. And right here we have a map. If you're not sure where a historic neighborhood is, that will help you. We also have links, which I love, to for really homeowners, as well as links for neighborhood associations. We have a how to research your house. Let me see. I'm going to go over here. Tips for researching your house. Thank you, Sharon Butch Freeland, for helping us put those together. Right here, we have profiles and preservation. And we have done a couple of people. And again, I mentioned we're an all volunteer organization. If you have a strong desire to write profiles, I would love to have some additional profiles. I'll certainly give you a byline, and we already have the list of people who we would like to feature in this. But I want to direct you to Miss Nancy Johnson. She's from the Ransom Place neighborhood. Sharon sat down and interviewed her back now. It's been several years, maybe 3 or 4 years. And I tell you, we have captured her voice and images from when she was growing up on Indiana Avenue. Miss Nancy passed away in September. And so I'm so proud that we were able to save her memories on this site. You'll also see that when it's not COVID, we would certainly list events for you to know what's going on. Our theory is that if you're interested in one neighborhood's historic activities, you might be interested in many other historic neighborhoods activities. Here's another representation of the map. So we'll have articles. Now I want to draw your attention to this page in particular, this part of the page in particular. This talks about our big initiative that we undertook for the Indianapolis Bicentennial. Back in 2011-12 timeframe, HUNI partnered with Indiana Landmarks and Historic Neighborhoods during Preservation Month to gather up and create historic neighborhood tours. I'll share with you that in probably 2015, Miss Paula Brooks came into a HUNI editorial board meeting and was lamenting, where am I going to put these historic neighborhood maps? You know, where does it make sense? Where they'll stay dry, people will be able to find them. The genesis of the idea of why don't we put these on the HUNI site so then everyone can see them 24/7. Nobody has to fundraise to have enough money to print brochures, and the idea was born. Now, I mentioned we're a volunteer organization, so fast forward to 2019, and we still hadn't found out how to put these on line. So the best part of this, I think, to me, is that when we recognized through Jordan Ryan that the bicentennial was coming in 2020, we knew that was exactly what we needed to do to share these tours with the Indianapolis community. I'll give a huge shout out to the Indianapolis Library and Jackie Needus, because Jackie turned us on to one of her lieutenants, Victoria Duncan, who shared with me information about Pocket Sites, a little kind of funky free app in Kansas City that she saw. And a match was made in heaven. So these tours are available for free anytime on the Pocket Sites app. And I have a direct link for you right here on the HUNI website that you can link into the website version of these tours. But the reason you probably want to download it on your phone is that Pocket Sites will share with you any tour in the city of Indianapolis or around the area. You can set the radius and you'll be able to see all these tours. I suspect strongly that since HUNI has set this and is starting to promote this really more far and wide, that there will be more organizations joining Pocket Sites and adding tours. So you'll be able to continue to enjoy some of these tours. If you're like me, you like to have something that shows you when you download, I want to know exactly the buttons to click. And right here I have for you at the very bottom, how to download on Pocket Sites. So that will give you the full, really the full rundown of how to do that. Okay, and so we have 15 different tours of 13 neighborhoods. We have a couple of 3 biking tours thrown in there as well. Some neighborhoods have both a biking and a walking tour, but you'll be able to see that. And tonight we're going to go through Historic Meridian Park's Pocket Sites tour, so you'll be able to see how that works together. But again, I'm going to give you some commentary in addition to the narration. Now, this baby is from our webmaster, Jay Van Santen, and I'll give a shout out to Kara Chen. She spent 370 hours digitizing these tours for you to have for free, which amen. I thank the organizations that helped us to also be able to digitize these tours, which are Indiana Humanities, Indiana Landmarks, the Marion County Historic Preservation Fund, the National Endowment of the Arts. Thank you all for helping us do this. So this really quick just shows you for each of the neighborhoods, there's a little bit of a rundown on the tours. And then you see the second button will show you all of the different tours. So you guys will be able to go back to this, look at the website though, tours.huniindy.org, and you will have the direct link to that. Hopefully Lorianne will also put that in the chat, but that will also be on the HUNI Facebook page. And again, we're unveiling it to you tonight, Indianapolis Propylaeum, because we are really proud that you're featuring us and the work of our amazing historic neighborhoods. So Historic Meridian Park is considered and considered itself an upwardly mobile neighborhood, and it and for really a mobile society. And we say, in fact, upwardly mobile because we're north of the circle, so that would be up, and mobile, the automobile really played a large part of our history. So we're 3 miles north of Monument Circle, so just about a 5K for those who run. This picture, it was taken, the postcard, in 1915. And I'm going to give you about 20 seconds. Look at what interesting elements on the postcard. Just take a look, take it in, see what you see on there. You probably noticed the esplanade running down the center, the use of the tree lawn over here, the maturity of the trees. Someone out there, I think, knows this answer. And if so, type it in the chat. When did Indianapolis standardize the side of the road that the automobile would travel on? Because this was clearly prior to that time, because this car is going down the wrong side of the road for current day Meridian Park. I want to point out to you right down here, this is the Kleinschmidt home, and the Kleinschmidt home was inhabited by, for a long time, Dean Emerson of the IU School of Medicine. And it was built by Mr. Kleinschmidt. We'll talk about him a little bit more. I'll show you right here is the Lacey Home, and right here is the Rich Creek Home. And right here is the Cardwell Home. Okay. Now I want you guys to remember that you're going to write down your favorite person that you're hearing about. Okay. So some of our narration is almost ready to begin. Okay. After the forced departure of the Native Americans that once inhabited the region, the federal government homesteaded this area and granted 160 acres to David Houston in 1821. This acreage covered the entire area that is now Historic Meridian Park. The Historic Meridian Park neighborhood, as you can see on this map, is bounded from 30th to 34th Pennsylvania to Washington Boulevard and the alley on the far side of each of these. The area was farmland until the turn of the century. Then a bridge over Fall Creek and the personal automobile made commuting downtown much easier. This suburban environment, distanced from the noise and smoke of downtown, made this area an exclusive and fashionable neighborhood. And I will just note here on the map, we come down here, the Marat was located right in here. Over here was St. Vincent Hospital. I'm coming up and you see Crown Hill Cemetery. All these are going to make more sense a little bit later as to why I'm touching upon them. The Children's Museum right here with the Schnell Rausch House, the Sports Legends Experience, the Glossbrenner Mansion, Coming up here, Shortridge High School, Lewis B. Russell School 40. We're going to talk about Lewis B. Russell and who he was. Freewheeling bikes. We have the Indiana State Fairgrounds up here. And right in here at Central and 30th, this is where the Newbie Oval is located. There are roughly 278 parcels in Historic Meridian Park. And hopefully this is going to keep, yes, here we go. This is a look at the Newbie Oval. And for those of you who are up on your history, you will recognize Newbie Oval was the predecessor to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway when bicycling was the rage in Indianapolis. And you can see on my map that the Newbie Oval was right here. You see the trolley line that would have come you would have probably come up right here on Illinois Street, where you could have gone over to Crown Hill Cemetery or back over here to the fairgrounds, did a loop to drop off and pick up people, and then it would run by the Newbie Oval. So wanted to make sure that you saw that as well. Okay. Automobile executives, bankers, builders, politicians, and clerks saw Historic Meridian Park as an ideal place to raise a family. Before I move on, I want to show you, we talked about the Esplanade, which is here. I received these pictures from Gene and Lamar Rich Creek, and they were given to the Rich Creeks, I believe potentially by Lawrence George, who was an architect in the area, and it was by his daughter. It was some really wonderful pictures that were passed on. So here's the Lacey House. Here's the Cardwell House. The automobiles are in front of the Rich Creek home. Here is a picture beside the Lacey home, and you can see the driver is on the opposite side of the car. So the steering wheel was not standardized yet. This picture is taken in front of the Lacey house, but you can get a nice view of the Rich Creeks. I love this picture because look how much fun they're having. This is a picture of the Rich Creek house. And right here, for those who know Tuckaway, this is the Tuckaway House, which is rumored to be built on an Indian burial ground. And you can see where those rumors might have come from after looking at this. We're going to still pause on these pictures for just a few minutes as I narrate just a bit more. Meridian Park provided homes for the city's prominent citizens, but its abundance of well-maintained arts and crafts architecture distinguishes the area from other Indy historic neighborhoods. The architecture here clearly defines the tenets of the American arts and crafts movement, expounded by such American craftsmen such as Gustav Stickley, Elbert Hubbard, and Green. Such qualities as natural materials, simplicity in design, and practicality reflect themselves in the designs of these homes. The arts and craft movement thrived during the early 20th century and extended far beyond architecture to involve a homeowner's lifestyle. Therefore, unlike the large Victorian homes of the Old North Side, American arts and crafts style homes reflect the philosophy that a modern house should be more functional than formal. The small parlors of the Victorian era house were replaced by spacious living rooms with large hearths. Meridian Park is known for more than its substantial architect-designed arts and crafts and American four-square houses. Fashionable examples of Tudor revival, colonial revival, and more eclectic and exotic influences are represented here and demonstrate the influence of the craftsman movement, giving Meridian Park a rich variety rarely seen in other neighborhoods. Every building reflects the use of natural materials such as stucco, brick, stone, and tile, as well as emphasizes the visual structural elements such as beams, abundant windows, and large overhangs. Many of us were drawn to the fine old homes. Who could resist the romance of homes with brickwood tile fireplaces, hardwood floors and cabinetry, sleeping porches, and welcoming front porches? And also leaded and stained glass windows. I promised you eye candy. Here's some. And I'll say that this is from the Lacey House. This is from the Rich Creek House, and I just always have loved this geometric pattern. These two are from Washington Court, and you will see in Washington Court this motif replicated in many of the homes in Washington Court. Over the years, urban flight left numerous homes in disrepair and cut up into apartments and multifamily dwellings. Many caring and committed neighbors have brought these magnificent old homes back to their original glory. Today, Meridian Park is a mixture of lifelong residents and relative newcomers. And the people are the reason we've stayed. Adopting an older house in a city neighborhood takes an open mind and an interest in community. The eclectic and spirited mix of residents accepts the challenges and rewards of creating a strong community. In 1988, residents undertook a detailed documentation of the city's history and architecture. As a result, in 1990, Historic Meridian Park was placed on the National Register of Historic Places. We're a vibrant urban community with an active neighborhood association. And I want to do a quick bit of commentary, run through a couple slides with you, so you'll see right here, the Indianapolis Monumental Half Marathon runs through Meridian Park. We have several neighborhood gatherings, summer barbecues, Cajun brunches. You're going to see the this is along 32nd Street that we closed before we really had our pocket park in place. This is the Holloway Towns home, which you'll be able to see. They always offer the Cajun brunch and new neighbors reception. Right here is the Friendship Garden, one of the features of the Centennial tour in 2006. Our neighbor Lee Smith gathered residents and kids and said, if you help to plant and weed the garden, you can take the fruits, which were the flowers, the beautiful zinnias that came out. Indianapolis likes to use Meridian Park when they try experiments, and rethinking our streets was one experiment that the city worked on probably in 2017, and they were trying to figure out if using paint could actually be a traffic calming measure. And I have placed this stained glass window beside, because that was the influence of our crosswalks, and where we got really the artistic component of that. Now, what the experiment told us was that regular street paint doesn't last long enough, so we hope to potentially do it again, but we certainly have to have better paint that will last more than just 6 months in the wintertime. In the center, you will see a street mural. We were trying to play to Google Earth what that looks like. And what we, again, didn't realize is that it would be faded before Google Earth updated itself. So we didn't quite get the pictures we had hoped to get. You also see a bike lane that was a demonstration project really just a few months ago with freewheeling bikes and the neighborhood association. Next up, I also wanted to show you just really fast. Good Homes and Gardens had a spread, I think maybe back in 1916 timeframe, and 3 homes within Historic Meridian Park were featured on this, and we can come back to it later if we need to. Before I launch into pocket sites, I am going to freely address 2 houses that are on the Pocket Sites tour, and then we're going to merge over to the tour. And that's because I don't like the pictures we have, and sometimes there are 2 pictures and it's harder to manipulate on the screen as I'm sharing with you. It's easy to do if you have your phone, though, when you're taking the tour. So this, we talked about this a little bit earlier. It's the Kleinschmidt Home. And this was designed by local architect Charles Martindale. Anthony Kleinschmidt, the president of Builders Supply Company, occupied this home at 3177 Pennsylvania after its construction in 1909. He raised his family in 3177 and then moved to the house next door that was built in 1919. That'll be on the the other part of the tour that will be on pocket sites. And there are many elements reflected back and forth within these two homes. This has beautiful beveled leaded glass windows, 2 rookwood fireplaces inside. The Giannini family, Reverend Bob Giannini, as you might recognize as the pastor of the Christ Church Cathedral, and his lovely wife, Joanne, purchased this house in 1990. This again, we referenced this earlier, was the home to the IU Dean of Medicine, John Emerson, for many years. Okay, now I'm going to go to the next home. Truly, I could spend the entire hour talking about Tuckaway for those who don't recognize it. This is the Tuckaway House. It was built in 1906, and it's one of the few individual residents in Indy to be put on the National Register of Historic Places as an individual home, as an individual private property. And it is truly a throwback into the yesteryear. The second homeowners were George Philip Meyer, an internationally acclaimed dress designer and affiliated with L.S. Ayres, and his wife, probably more prominent than him, Nellie Simmons Meyer, a palm reader to the stars, and entertained many celebrities in the home. Ken Keene lived in the home for 43 years, and really, I think, elevated the house, and so it wasn't forgotten. We are so fortunate that realtor Joe Eberhard purchased the house and was able really to stabilize it, and it is just really gorgeous. It was once loaded with many copies of celebrity photos, indicative of the Meyer circle of friends. These included Walt Disney, Joan Crawford, Albert Einstein, Eleanor Roosevelt, Amelia Earhart, George Gershwin, and the list just goes on. I hear that Rachmaninoff did concerts in the living room. Truly, it is an amazing, amazing place. And the Propylaeum just auctioned off a 2-hour soiree in this home as a part of its salon series. So keep your eyes open for the salon series, because you never can tell the amazing things they're going to find. I'll wrap up by saying the original autograph photos are in the Library of Congress. And lastly, and Joe Eberhard can confirm this because he has the postcard, that in the 1920s, a postcard addressed to Tuckaway, USA, from anywhere in the world would find its way to this neighborhood in this home, which really is amazing. So when you enter into pocket sites, you will see a landing page like this. This gives you just kind of an overview of the neighborhood. It shows you over here the different stops on your tour. Right here, it gives you a map, so you'll know exactly where you're going. And granted, this could be a 3-hour tour, but I'm going to wrap it up in 30 minutes while still giving you some really great insight and information. And then here, if you want to go directly to the different houses, you can. Okay, so this was the second house that I talked about I talked about the Kleinschmidt built. This was his second house. And that was downsized. It also has beautiful tile work, beautiful rookwood fireplace, but it was downsized, so it only had 1 rookwood fireplace. We should all be so lucky to have a rookwood fireplace. I will say that there are many amazing owners. The Luckman family just did a wonderful job to stabilize this house. And also, not too long ago, Reverend Shannon McVean Brown and her family lived in this beautiful home before she was appointed to be Archbishop of Vermont's Episcopal Church. So I wanted to give a shout out to her. Okay, next we have the historic Burkhart residence. This is 3159, and I think you can see that on the bottom of the screen, so I may not repeat the address. I'll let you look and see where that is. Once one of several Meridian Park homes designed by Clarence Martindale, this 1909 Mission Revival house was built for Dr. Louis Burkhart, the city's first non-American born doctor. typical of the Mission style are the Mission parapet and the quadrifoil window and tile roof. This is really a absolutely stunning home. Now it is 2 colors. I think we're hoping to make them 1 color, but I love the architecture of this house. Next up, we'll only briefly pause here to show you this house that is a style of arts and crafts. It was the home of, designed by Lawrence George, who was the architect. Indiana Landmarks president Marsh Davis and his wife Grace lived here in the late 80s, and it was Marsh's efforts to help bring Historic Meridian Park onto the National Register. So we're very thankful. And I'll say, fast forward, when I finally did have a family, Marsh's daughters were my daughter's first babysitters. Okay, next up. In 1978, Jean and Lamar Rich Creek purchased this 1909 Tudor Revival, which was in absolute derelict condition. Now it's completely restored, and this home is featured in the book 99 Historic Homes of Indiana, published in 2002. It's another Lawrence George design home, and where he lived when he built the Lacey House next door at 3121 Penn. Then he lived in 3121 Penn. I'm starting to see kind of how this architect operated. Build one and you might as well be right on site and next door. From 1912 to 1916, William Brown was vice president of Overland Automotive Company. He also held positions with Mays Motor Truck Company and the Marmon Company. In 2019, Meridian Park Neighborhood Association created the Lamar Rich Creek Memorial Key Neighbor Award in recognition of the late Lamar Rich Creek, who gave so much to the historic Meridian Park neighborhood over the years. This award is presented annually to the recipient, making an important and lasting contributions to the quality of life in historic Meridian Park. Next up is the Lacey Home. Another home built by Lawrence George. It's a 6,000 square foot Tudor Revival, constructed in 1910. The second owners were Howard J. Lacey, co-founder of U.S. Corrugated Cardboard. He moved into this house in 1918 and lived there until 1928. Today, the company is known worldwide as Lacey Diversified Industries. Then this is actually my home. We have tried to emulate that Hollywood Drive with having a row of historic bricks from the street of Meridian Park. When the street was being redone, we picked up, I went and fetched wheelbarrows full of bricks with my poor mother-in-law. I was pregnant and she was having a hard time walking, but we got those bricks because they would have been just sent to the landfill. So I'm happy we did. But it was cut up into 4 apartments when I purchased it. But now I'm so happy that it's back to a single family residence. In 1906, this colonial revival was built and first occupied by Harry Fitton, a prominent builder in Indianapolis. For many years, Fitton partnered with Lawrence George, the architects who designed several homes. And from 2001 through 2019, it was the home of Steve and Julie Scott. When the Scotts bought this house in 2001, they had the daunting task of converting it back into a single family residence. And they did it room by room. As many as 10 different people from different families lived in this house at one time. So it was really rented by the room. It's beautifully restored and has a beautiful grand staircase and stunning woodwork. It was purchased by the Irwin family in 2019. And just one quick tidbit is that the original garage had fallen into disrepair when a tree fell on it and was demolished in the 90s. There was only it was only one of a few remaining garages that featured a special automotive electrical supply to recharge an antique electric car. I thought that was very interesting. And I'll say that Julie Scott, who is an architect who has since moved away, she built and designed the garage, the new garage to replace the old one all on her own, which I'm really proud of her. That's amazing. Meridian Park Studios. This mid-century modern building was originally designed and built by the Indianapolis Art League in 1962 to house the Art Center's art classes. The building remained in operation until the Art League moved to its present location in Broad Ripple in 1976 and was later renamed the Indianapolis Art Center. In 2012, after many years in which the building was used as a storage facility for Baldwin and Lyons, the building was purchased and retrofitted by the current owners, Regina Laughlin and Chip Heberden, excuse me. And now it serves as home to several local businesses. Tammy Weisen and Mike Sin are among what I determine and several neighbors determine renovation rock stars in our neighborhood. They have tackled 8 full-scale property renovations within Meridian Park. This Tudor revival was built in 1912. It's one of 2 homes they renovated themselves, and they renovated 3 for their parents. Tammy's parents, who was Fort Wayne Senator Tom Weiss and his late wife Shirley. After sitting empty for 11 years, the Sins were able to preserve the interior details and incorporate salvaged elements into this home. The Esplanade Apartments were constructed in 1912, offering upscale townhomes and flats in an arts and crafts style. The apartment boasts of a variety of floor plans in 1, 2, and 3-story arrangements with leaded glass, interior doors and windows, private entrances, gas fireplaces, and sitting porches. In 2015, the current owners, Carmer Watson Properties, purchased the buildings and proceeded to finish renovations to the structure. Placed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1983, the Esplanade is one of 2 privately owned properties in Meridian Park on the National Register. Quick little fun tidbit: when the Esplanade was being renovated, owners found an old moonshine still, likely dating back to the Prohibition era. Kind of something interesting. You don't expect to find that. Sometime in the 1940s, the landscape Esplanade that we talked about, which ran the length of Pennsylvania Street, was removed by the city of Indianapolis. A similar Esplanade ran along 32nd Street and was also removed around that time. Today, the triangle is one of 3 traffic calming road structures in Meridian Park. But it throws people back that you can kind of see what it might have felt like to have these type of like an Esplanade back. And there are a few houses that I'm skipping over, and that's only because of time. So next up is the Esplanade Annex. Originally built in 1912, this Greek Revival apartment building was converted into 6 high-end condos in 2015 by the Congdon family. Many believed in the neighborhood that this property truly was unsalvageable. It was in great disrepair. The roof had been leaking, was falling apart. But the Congdons proved with vision, money, and dedication to preservation that anything is possible. This really is it's a gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous building. And I tell you, these right here, probably one of my favorite views in Meridian Park, because you can see down the street, and just really absolutely lovely, lovely place. This is another one of the homes renovated by Tammy Weiss in the Sin family. In 2005, this 1911 Tudor revival was in foreclosure and was badly in need of repair. Senator Tom Weiss and Shirley were living in another Meridian Park home on 33rd Street, while their daughter and son-in-law purchased the home at 3043, which is the one we saw when I first introduced the concept of renovation rock stars. The Weisses decided to buy this home so that they could be across the street and closer to their grandchildren. The property was stripped down to the studs, renovated in a way that was both historically sensitive and perfectly suited for the family's use. When this home became too big for Senator Weiss, he moved next door to 3048 Pennsylvania, And now he has moved out of the neighborhood, and his daughter now lives in that 3048 Pennsylvania with her family. Okay, and Senator Reese was a representative from Fort Wayne. So when they were the Indiana Senate was in session, this is where he would stay. The Holloway Towns home. This is another Lawrence George home, and today it is the home to Doctors Stephen Towns and Jeanette Holloway Towns. Since 2004, the Holloway Towns family has generously opened their home for the annual neighborhood Cajun brunch and new neighbors reception. This event brings together neighbors for a pitch-in and presentation of the annual Lamar Rich Creek Memorial Key Neighbor Award. And I'll tell you again, architect Lawrence George, built in 1919, this home for many years was more of a yellow and a brown. And when it was painted gray, I was just unsure what I thought. And I had someone ask me about, tell me about that big house in the neighborhood. And they described it a little bit, and I realized that they were so taken with the architecture that the gray color really accentuated just what a gem this is. And so I've since released my Tudor should be brown. Anyway, and so it really is an absolutely gorgeous house, and the Towns have such lovely taste that it's really a great place. Okay, next up is this charming Tudor revival. Its original owner was Paul Buchanan, chairman of the board of Flanner and Buchanan Mortuaries. You'll recall Meridian Park is close to Crown Hill Cemetery. Certainly there are lots of mortuaries that were along Meridian Street because of the link and the proximity to Crown Hill. In 1925, the company built a mortuary nearby at the Fall Creek Parkway and Meridian Street location. The location of Flanner and Buchanan at the Meridian Street location became the leader and served close to 1,000 families annually at its peak. This house was built in 1912. This is why you got to see the other picture of Tuckaway, because this is a teeny picture, and it was really before Joe owned the house, and it really has really transformed. I think I said to someone, I didn't know Tuckaway could have curb appeal. It's really cute. But it was behind lots of a green screen of lots of trees to give it lots of privacy. So old picture of Tuckaway that we have already covered. Next up, the historic Huesman estate. This is by far the largest estate in Meridian Park, and it is undoubtedly one of the architectural showplaces. Though not representative of the arts and crafts style, the house nonetheless adds significantly to the streetscape due to its large scale and extensive southern side lot. Renowned architect Howard Van Doren Shaw designed this opulent estate in 1906 for Louis Huesman, president of the Central Supply Company. This is one of 2 homes in Indy designed by Shaw. The other one is the U.S. Vice President Fairbanks, Charles Fairbanks mansion located at 30th and Meridian Street. So maybe Howard Van Doren Shaw, or maybe Louis Huesman is going to be on your list for favorites because Huesman early in his career helped to found I'm not getting the name of it right now. I may have to come back to it. I thought I had it. It's a French eclectic country style house. It has 7,000 square feet of finished living space with an adjacent studio connected by a tunnel that adds another 4,000 square feet. 4 bedrooms, 4 full baths, and 3 half baths. And darn, I do not have the name of the organization. And I'm going to say, I was thinking Indianapolis Foundation, but it could be Riley's Children's Health. Anyway, I'm moving on. Oh, but I'll tell you, this home is for sale. Anybody has wants to buy a really amazing house, look online and you can see this gorgeous house, and it can be yours, and you can be our neighbor. And Jean Richkick and I would love it. Okay. Next up, this is the Italian Revival House is the home of renowned antiques dealer and owner of Solomon Antiques, Ben Solomon. It was built in 1918. And again, I'm moving fast because I'm trying to keep us on time. And I'm just going to pause at this house for just a second. I don't know, for those of you who know Anne Marie Deslin and Marty Deslin, this was their home until roughly 2016 when lightning struck it. And a neighbor that lived down the street in the HUNI apartments that I paused on for just a second and didn't say really anything about, they have renovated the HUNI apartments and now moved into this home, which they are renovating. And this is a Queen Anne style, Queen Anne house. And I want to bring to your attention why it is considered arts and crafts, because usually you wouldn't traditionally see arts and crafts in a Queen Anne. But the home incorporated subtle arts and crafts features like the square columns that you see here. A traditional Queen Anne style would have called for turned posts on the porches, but these are square. So again, influences of arts and crafts in many of these homes. Okay. This French Revival home was designed by well-known architect William Osler in 1921 for Anton and Ina Vonnegut. To Hoosiers, the Vonnegut is a familiar name. Anton was author Kurt Vonnegut Jr.'s first cousin, once removed. This was also the home of Dr. Frank Johnson. Frank was the director of the Marion County Health and Hospital Health Department, and in 1983, he was the first doctor to deliver African-American quintuplets born without the use of fertility drugs. The spacious grounds of the Hampton residence features a magnificent strand of 30 hardwood trees that are among the oldest in Meridian Park. Presently, the home is owned by Reverend David Hampton, and his lovely wife, Hope Hampton. And David is deputy mayor for neighborhoods for the Hogsett administration. But this is really a wonderful home. Gail Johnson, Frank's widow, owned it for many years and sold it to the Hamptons. Just really a wonderful treasure in the neighborhood. This Tudor Revival home at 3257 North Penn was designed by the architectural firm Foltz and Parker and built in 1910 for Albert Pearson, director and vice president of Lilly Hardware Company. This 3-story house features a different building material on each level: stucco and half timbering at the attic level, board and batten siding on the second level, and brick on the first floor. Arts and craft detail includes exposed rafters, knee braces, and a rear sleeping porch. This house's second owner was attorney Henry Hornbrook. In 1916, Mr. Hornbrook co-founded the Indianapolis Foundation. Here was the Indianapolis Foundation's co-founder, which ranks as one of the largest community foundations in the country. Also Mark Webb and Lee Smith are the owners presently, and Charles Webb, Mark's father, was who gave the concert in their home, a Sunday afternoon in Meridian Park concert. certainly great musical heritage in the house. You might recognize Lee's name from Indiana Landmarks and from the American Pianist Association. They added a carriage house in the back with a second floor apartment, which they rent. Their inviting large backyard is a favorite spot for neighbors to gather for the annual chili cook-off and cornbread competition, particularly before we had a pocket park, which I'm going to show you here in just a couple minutes. In 2015, the family expanded the rear porch of the house and added a massive, beautiful kitchen area and great for entertaining. And Lee and Mark are the second family that's considered our renovation rock stars since they've moved to the neighborhood in 1993. Next up, we have, just let you, a little eye candy there. This home, oops. Going to go on right here. There is a small esplanade that runs down 32nd Street. And this esplanade, we have our a national marker there, a recognition marker. It's not one of the state markers yet, but that is right there. Next up, we have the Patrick Home. This is an American Foursquare. At 3327 North Pennsylvania. It was built in 1914. It is one of the first owners in the home was Harry Brinkmeyer, who was with the Pioneer Brass Company. But I'm going to fast forward us to the to a later owner, a current owner, Stacy and Jeff Patrick, presently reside in the house. And this couple started Nicey Treat. I know some of you may be familiar with Nicey Treat, a Broad Ripple location. And I think they have a truck that also goes around, but it started in their Delaware Street kitchen, and they wanted more space. So they found another Meridian Park home to move into. So I wanted to just quickly give a heads up and hats off to them. Okay. This is the home that Senator Weiss lived in. That was the first home that he lived in, and just really beautiful arts and crafts. You can see some of the influences right here. You see along the windows. It just really a gorgeous home, and it's located right next to the Pocket Park, which is right there. It took 100 years, but our neighborhood finally put the park in Meridian Park. In 2013, the neighborhood raised money to purchase 2 empty lots through private donations and has successfully applied for grants and for park development. The goals of the park are to have a place to relax, rejuvenate with nature, provide a safe place for children to play, and serve as a gathering place for residents of diverse backgrounds to come together. This is located on 33rd Street between the Delaware Street Alley and Washington Boulevard. Has a wonderful area of play for the children, etc. It's also the favorite place of the neighborhood to host the chili cook-off. This 3312 Washington Boulevard home was built in 1907. This is one of 2 Meridian Park homes designed by the famed firm Rubish and Hunter. Many of you will recognize that name. Rubish and Hunter's other creations include such downtown landmarks as Circle Theater, the Columbia Club, and the Indiana Theater. The primary design elements of this home, which depict the Mission Revival style, are the mission shape parapet and the overhanging eaves, stucco finish, and the thick front porch columns. Now, this was one of the homes that was in that Ladies' Home Journal article that was featured in 1916. Okay. Meridian Park's northeast anchor, and this is the house that I kind of flash to with the old, the second old picture of Meridian Park when you're looking south on Washington Boulevard. This is what the house looks like today. It's, again, the northeast anchor of the neighborhood. It is a second house designed by Rubish and Hunter. It is a 1907 Dutch colonial revival. This home features an unusual mixture of neoclassical and Flemish influences. The house's curved parapet gables and Flemish bond brick pattern reflect Dutch influences, while the centrally located door and the use of Doric columns are a good example of neoclassical style. Jess Lenore, who is the owner of the house, has been restoring it since he purchased it in 2007, excuse me. Most of his work involves undoing the house's 1938 conversion into a duplex. This home has been on the neighborhood's home tours in 2010 and 2015 because we wanted to show over time that some of these homes, it takes time to renovate them, and you can live in them and still live in them and still renovate them. Okay. 3335 Washington Boulevard was built in 1914. It's an American foursquare with prairie influence. William Langskamp Jr. and his wife Ida lived in the house from 1914, at least until the Great Depression. But I want to fast forward to 1974. The home sat vacant for 10 years and was slated for demolition. Organic chemist Brenda Trudell Bell purchased the home to be closer to her aging grandparents, 2 houses to the north of her on Washington Boulevard. At the time, Brenda was pharmaceutical sales at Lilly after breaking the glass ceiling as the organization's first African-American research chemist. Lilly noticed Brenda's work on anti-malaria drugs in the late 60s when she was an organic chem graduate student research assistant at Purdue University. Brenda was one of the first Black females to break the color barrier in chemistry at Purdue and has done significant work on 4 U.S. patents. She's now retired and enjoys mentoring area youth and on the importance of science and strong mentors. I love Brenda Bell. She's one of my favorite people. This is her home. The historic Idlegeorg residence, 3321 Washington Boulevard, built in 1910. The style is arts and crafts. And you see some of the key features, squared porch piers, decorative window glazing, the red roof tile. This was the childhood home of businessman and philanthropist Harrison Idlegeorg, founder of the Idlegeorg Museum of American Indians and Western Art. Idlegeorg went west in the late 1940s on coal mining ventures and subsequently developed a lifelong passion for the land and the people of the American Southwest, as well as the artwork there. Again, maybe another person that you want on your list of favorites. This home, and I'm sorry you can get just a small glance, but this is the reason why you want to take the tour, so you can see really the full scope of the homes. This is the historic Jewett residence, 3313 Washington Boulevard. Charles Jewett resided here while he served as mayor of Indianapolis. Jewett was chosen as chairman of the Marion County Republican Committee in 1914 and served as the mayor of Indianapolis from 1918 to 1921. Oh, this is an another beautiful home. It's a historic Marat residence, 3268 Washington Boulevard. It is a 1910 style is Tudor Revival. This is the home of George Marat, an English immigrant who came to Indianapolis and started a shoe business and later built Marat department store on Mass Avenue. By 1910, he had a net worth of over $2 million. 1910, $2 million. He was the guy to know. In 1926, he built the Marat Hotel with its breathtaking view of downtown Indianapolis and Fall Creek with its grand bridges. And I should have, when we did the map of Indianapolis, I should have pointed out, I had a picture of the Marat Hotel so that you would see this really grand building. In 1983, after being boarded up for 2 years, the hotel opened as the Marat Apartments, reconfiguring the building's 78 hotel rooms into 240 apartments. So think about that. That was 9 floors, 2 towers, and it had 78 really rooms. So it was very grand. And I looked up last night on the Encyclopedia of Indianapolis, and it states that Clark Gable stayed there along with Winston Churchill and Marilyn Monroe, et cetera, et cetera. So really swanky place to stay. Okay, continuing to move on. And Liz, I promise I'm getting closer to the end. Okay, next up, does anyone remember when the Indianapolis airport was called Weir Cook Airport? This home, built in 1910, is an American 4-square with a prairie influence. And one of the home's early owners was famed World War II fighter ace Harry Weir Cook. In honor of Cook's decorated service in the U.S. Air Force and his role in advocating for Indianapolis's first municipal airport in 1931, the city named the airport after this native son. Presently, Love Majors lives in this iconic home. Now, Washington Court. One of the most unique features of Meridian Park is its small row of 8 houses known as Washington Court. Originally named Washington Place, this pedestrian courtyard was developed by the Jose Balls Company, a building company, between 1911 and 1914. This court is significant because it is only one of 3 such pedestrian courts in Indianapolis. It's also the most architecturally distinguished of the group. The setbacks of these homes for more privacy and isolation make it more unique. The concept of privacy fits nicely into the tenets of arts and crafts philosophy, which advocated a retreat from the city to a quiet residential settings. These American 4-square style homes possess such characteristic arts and crafts details as wide overhanging eaves supported by knee braces, exposed rafters, sleeping porches, and welcoming front porches. And I showed you a picture of the leaded glass windows that many of these homes still have to this day. In 1996, David Bartley, a very long-time resident of Washington Court, applied for a beautification grant and installed 1912 style lampposts that now illuminate the court. Okay. This home is the site of this site is in this space is the former home of Frank Beckwith, an Indianapolis attorney, judge, and civil rights advocate. Beckwith was the first that we know of, the first African-American to ever run for a presidential primary. He was one of 6 men vying for the Republican presidential nomination in 1960. The home that's currently on this site is newly constructed. It carries many arts and crafts influences, and its design as a way to match the surrounding neighborhood. The former home that Frank Beckwith lived in it burned down in 2004, and the lot sat empty until 2016. So this home was actually built in 2017, but I wanted to memorialize the lot. And I don't think I have any pictures of the Beckwith home. 3169 Washington Boulevard was built in 1910. It's one of two Queen Anne homes in Meridian Park. This house was finally restored in 2015 after years of neglect. It's the only house in the neighborhood with a turret and is more typical of homes that one would find in Indy's Heron Morton neighborhood. What's particularly special is that you'll notice the Widow's Walk, typically found on 19th century North American coastal houses. Widow's walks are, in fact, a standard decorative feature of Italianate architecture, which was very popular during the height of the Age of Sail in many North American coastal communities. And I'll say one of our neighbors, Bug Armstrong, lived in this house and was renovating it for many years. He fell off the roof, and he must have had rubber in his body because he bounced, broke a lot of bones, but he lived to tell the tale. But this really is a picturesque home in the neighborhood. Now, this small home is an American four-square with arts and crafts influences. It was built in 1920. The most notable resident to live in the house was the former home of Lewis B. Russell. I pointed out on the map the Lewis B. Russell School 48. At the time of his death in 1974, Lewis Russell was the world's longest surviving heart transplant patient, as well as Indiana's first heart transplant recipient. To honor the former teacher, IPS named IPS School 40 after him, which is located at 34th and Central Avenue. .3064 Delaware is a arts and crafts style bungalow built in 1908. This is one of 4 Meridian Park homes attributed to the Clarence Martindale, and one of only a few bungalows in the neighborhood. It's affectionately known as Hydrangea House for 15 species of hydrangeas that inhabit the grounds. The 2.5-story house contains numerous arts and crafts bungalow elements, such as steeply pitched gable roof, which extends over the porch, and gable dormer with overhanging eaves supported by knee braces, and banded casement windows. This home was one of 3 in Meridian Park featured. Oh, and it was the 1909 issue of Ladies' Home Journal. I think I said 1916, and that was not correct. That magazine recognized 14 newly added homes in Indianapolis. 3 were in the Meridian Park area. You might you might recognize the name Sharon Gamble, longtime WFYI host of Art of the Matter, Indiana Landmarks employee. You might have also recognized Sharon associated with the Phoenix Theater. This is Sharon's home that she has been lovingly restoring since 2003, 2004 timeframe. So for many years. Okay. Again, in a matter of time. This home is the home of Jay Van Santen, and I think we're almost at the very end of our tour. And Jay's home, and with his partner David Conrad, looking quickly, oh, right here we go, was built in 1925. Jay is our webmaster that I have touted and have an immense amount of appreciation for. It's American arts and crafts architecture. It was the first home of Homer Laughlin. He was a graphics designer here in Indianapolis and was hired to move to Chicago to work in the Leo Burnett Group in the early 1930s. In the 1970s, the home was the Indianapolis Center for the Christian Cult, and the cult's name was Children of God. Notable among its members were actor River Phoenix's parents. The second floor had a greenhouse in the back where sacrificial marijuana was grown, which kind of makes me laugh. we clearly have a sense of humor in Meridian Park. And now I'm going to take us back to one more place if I can get to it, and this will be the final house on the tour. This is the Arthur Bone House. And let me take a minute and find this in my notes because I had them out of order. Here it goes. Okay, 215 East 32nd Street, this Tudor Revival house. Arthur Bone, a named partner with the architectural firm of Vonnegut, Bone and Mueller, designed and resided in this house from its construction in 1911 to 1947. So what kind of house does a famed architect live in? This kind of a house. In addition to being recognized as a major influence in the vocational school system in Indianapolis, Arthur Bone is also known for his notable architectural designs seen throughout the city. Examples include the Athenaeum, the former Blocks and Ayers downtown department store buildings, the Heron Art Institute, which is now Heron High School. And with that, we finished the tour. What questions does anyone have?
Is Meridian Street part of the okay, that was one of the questions I saw come in.
It is not. We are one alleyway away from Meridian Street. So it's the alley behind Pennsylvania, between Pennsylvania and Meridian is where Meridian Park would go to. But we are all a part of the Mid-North area. We're also considered Midtown area and also considered Mapleton Fall Creek. So lots of people are our friends.
Okay, so this, like I said at the beginning, this is part of a new series. It's the beginning of a new series that we have on historic neighborhoods here in Indianapolis. In January, we will be take a look at the bicentennial. For the bicentennial, we'll take a look at the Indianapolis architectural history, and that will be presented by Jordan Ryan. In February, we will be featuring Lockerbie, the Lockerbie neighborhood. In March, I have the Indiana Album of Architecture. And then in April, we will do Forgotten African-American Neighborhoods of Indianapolis. I think that these are all going to be great. We're really excited about this. So, tell your friends to tune in. And again, like I said, they'll be on our website. You can link from our website to our YouTube channel or find us. I think if you Google Indianapolis Propylaeum, it'll come up. Thank you all so much for joining us. Lorraine, thank you so much for doing this for us. What a great presentation. Thank you.